That's what you want to say?
I mean, whatever else, but just
Yeah. This is what the classical.
this will be on YouTube. This will be live on YouTube right now.
Okay.
As soon as it loads, you're there. And I'll hit, once I hit record, I'll minimize this, and if anyone comes in and talks, you'll be able to. There you go. Get ready, what?
Is there going to be a delay?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Welcome to Alchemy 101. How's it going? I am Sensei Sebi, and this is about to be a really great addition to the great movement that my good brother Halo Marquise has going on, and he's asked me to fill in for this episode today. So we've got a lot of great, unique, crucial, important, very insightful, but a little edgy things that we're going to go over today, but in the aspect of the light realm and then shadow realm. To all my conscious brethren out there, it's very, very important that we talk about this. Very good. I lit some incense, and we are going to jump in. Okay, so yes, my name is Sebi. I teach an assortment of things from the world of naturopathy to chakras, chakra healing, and basically, how to hydrate the body, how to hydrate the melanin, how to hydrate the melanin, and how to basically, allow our body to oxygenate in its fullest form, which really goes hand in hand with what Mystech has going on with the frequencies and whatnot. And I'm pretty extensive. I'm a life coach. I've taught at PCC and just make PowerPoints and make music and just try to, expand the world, rise the frequency in any way I can. But yes, so the overall topic that we're going to be talking about today is the nature of illness. Very, very deep. When it comes to illness or disease as or in another way to say it, in an anagram of the word, disease is dis-ease of the soul, and when the soul, which inhabits the physical body, goes through either deep bad intoxication or smothering or pain, and becomes embellished to that, the consciousness can be overtaken and or leave straight up. There's times where I'm sure you've been extremely drunk before and blacked out, and you just kept going. And it was like you left, the soul could only take so much intoxication. So illness or disease in its basis starts with a mental constriction before anything physical ever comes to this world. Just like everything here, everything first must be a thought. But in that same way, mentally, we have this type of, I like to call it the ego, but as I've evolved my ego and what ego is to me, it's generally on another plane because I've beaten mine into submission. So now it's a tool for my soul rather than trying to run the show. But ego as an overall literal thing and concept, it must not be allowed to run the show. It must not be allowed to take the pilot seat and drive. It is dangerous if it can get too much power. And that is where we come into soul with, and I know when we're talking about the nature of illness and how illness can manifest, we're starting in such almost spiritual means, but this right here is the basis for where all of these things first birth and come from, is up in our mind and our heart space, So when we think about the ego and having too much power, it's like, which wolf will you feed, in this mighty battle between the soul and the ego? Which wolf are you going to feed? One wolf will feed enough as it needs. It will eat as much as it needs, and it will leave enough food for the other wolf. But there's one wolf, the other wolf, it will eat all the food, and try to starve the other wolf. And the second it gets strong enough, it'll try to kill that wolf, the other wolf. So, and it's the nature of this that in which why we cannot allow it to run the very, you know, uh, century of our life, you know. So ultimately, the ego, when given too much or when fed too much, it'll start to have a mind of its own, aside from the mind state of you, the actual soul itself. And by that, I mean more vindictive, more fear based thought patterns, things that lead to hatred, for yourself, for others. These things cripple the mind and can begin to build behaviors that are not good or are very, very dampering or stagnating to your overall energy. And that's where it really becomes the worst implication, because if you start feeling bad for something that you shouldn't feel bad for, and or start kicking yourself for something you shouldn't get kicked for, this ego thing has wrapped itself onto your mind, and it's covering up your ability to see what's right and what's wrong. And you'll no longer be able to decipher friend or foe. Your own mom or someone deeply that you care about can attack you. And I'm sure you've all been through this. This is that ego in them that did not like what you said to the ego and went to be like, on you, because it senses who is its enemy. And by enemy, I mean who has the power to make it lose power over its host. And all those who represent soul represent that. And thus, the power of us as shamans and all my conscious, people out there that work so hard in the shadow realm, you especially know what I'm talking about. Now, disease itself is birthed through two ways. One, through the actions that in which the ego has the host act to build um, a space for it to grow. And that right there is like, man, the first cross section in which it needs to even become is through the behaviors that would ultimately lead to the thing becoming. Then the second basis that it needs in the physical world is mucus. Mucus, as taught by the naturopathy Dr. Sebi, or Baba Sebi as I would call, taught that mucus is the breeding ground for all diseases. If you get rid of the mucus, you can get rid of the disease, because the mucus is the basic foundation and breeding ground for all disease. And if the mucus is there, and the activities and the behaviors and the bad thinking and all these things that rewire, the circuit board, um, and the pain and all these different things. These things feed into the mucus, and thus disease will step forth through the door of those two things. So, in layman's, the ego is a untangible aspect of the disease itself, just not in the physical form. So when it actually becomes a, you know, gout, or it becomes, sickle cell, or it becomes, any of these diseases, MS, multiple sclerosis, it becomes, lupus, these things are first and foremost connected to patterns that in which the person had lived in life and thus had did to make the thing become one. And two, it's mucus. So to bring all this together, ultimately, um, the mucus, when we're told in Western society that we, you know, um, have an illness, right now, if I asked you, most of you probably are woke though, but if I were to ask most individuals, how many diseases do you think that there is that the human body can catch? How many of them could you come up with? we'd have 70 of them plus. Maybe not off the top. You could think of maybe 17 or something. But you'd think of so many of them. And the truth is, there only is one disease. There's only one disease. The disease is mucus, and that is the only main disease. That's the secret. So, out of the only diseases that exist, the one of the mind, and then mucus, all diseases that we think are diseases all fit into this one. So if mucus builds up in the brain, it's lupus. If mucus builds up in the brain, it's MS. If mucus builds up around the heart, it's cardiovascular issues. If mucus starts building up on the joints, it's arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. If mucus starts building up in the kidneys, it can form into AIDS. These different things, um, these different things over time can bleed and become worse, manifestations of an internal problem that, actually already exists. And I'm sure Vedic philosophy actually goes over this a lot. Like they have a database where you could break down the specific emotional responses and needs for all the breast cancer patients that all have had breast cancer, and like all of them have had like major loneliness, major them against the world, major pain and feeling left alone, like all of them, in its emotional basis, that in which disease steps forth into this world. So the nature of illness is this, and this is how it builds. The solutions are to breathe, to take your time and to not allow yourself to, be taken out of your comfort zone, or not in the good ways where life begins right outside our comfort zone, but to not allow anyone to pull you out of your character. Um, I was just going through this a lot myself, through something I just learned in a trip out to Hollywood, and there was people that I had really deep in my inner circle that I really care about. And by care, I mean like I'll run into a burning house for you, and I don't allow people in for reasons, for based off of things I've been through in my life and people I cared about that hurt me. So I learned certain defensive mechanisms that I have not allowed to bleed out, but how to keep myself protected ultimately out here. Psychic shields and mantras and counter spells to use up. And basically I've been able to keep that away. But there's individuals that I would let in because I cared about them in such a means. And one of them like really like just shit their ego out on me really bad after I like, had done a lot for them. And I was like, yo, we just got done having a conversation about my inner child. And then you actually go and do this. Mm-hmm. And it was just mind blowing that uh, someone like that I cared about would literally take the time to actually hurt my inner child right after we just got done talking about how that affected me. So I let that in, and I got frustrated, and I was frustrated for like 2 days for it. It was just unnecessary. And I went and I took an ascension. And hey, what's up, Amante? How you doing, big dog? You know what I'm saying? Had to give you a shout out. Um, Basically, I was really upset. I was upset for like 2 days, right? And I went and I ascended. I took a microdose, and I was taught so much in it, and it was a lot more than a microdose, just like the memes. It was way more than a microdose, but um, it was just a cap. And what I got through the message is that you know, I was watching this video through this dude who connects with Arcturians, and it was talking about this slingshot method that allows individuals that are of higher consciousness to advance themselves far based off of adversities that they go through. And I had given, thank you, my dude. I had given so much intent of the video to the person who had did this to me, as in a sense that, yo, you need to hear this. This is a lot of deep stuff for you, because it was talking about not being ready for responsibility of emotions, and not being ready for responsibilities of levels of yourself that you could get to to, but you don't even know you could get to because you gave this out and you'll just shit your energy out on people. So I was like, yo, you need to listen to this. But the fact that I even got angry though and upset and allowed that in was like me doing that on my own level, you know? So it was like, dang. And it really went on me, you know? So I had to really take into account, you know, my own aspects of my own ego that I've already done so much work with and allow growth even at my level to obtain even there. And it was like beautiful. I had to actually go to her and thank her and be like, yo, you were trying to tell me something too that I wasn't even understanding, that you didn't know you were really trying to say. And since I wasn't even understanding it and you weren't even understanding it, you went and like did it firsthand. And I was like, yo. So the universe used you as that aspect for me to learn this great message. So, you know, it ended up very well. But that right there is a means to, you know, accept and heal and not allow something to manifest that you don't know about or don't want to, you know, be happening in the shadows. And that's all an aspect of mentality and heart space. But an aspect of physicality, you need to drink water. You need to try to alkalize your body as much as possible, you know? You need to um, move, you know, and you need to man, you need to sweat. You know, you need to allow your body to exfoliate as much as possible and not allow mucus to build up. There's also a lot of things that build mucus. You know, there's things that's like, you know, cow's milk. You know, milk in general builds calcium, but there's different kinds of calcium, you know, and the calcium that comes from cow's milk can be acidic some of the times, a lot of the times, most of the times, and you could end up building, you know, mucus in your body by just consuming cow's milk or ice cream. You know that doctors will tell you, hey, don't let your baby eat ice cream. It'll build mucus, phlegm. You know, this is a basic 101, and it's because mucus, you know? So if you could find a more alkalized thing to get your milk from, you know, try flax milk, you know, try hemp milk, try oat milk, you know, all these things are very creamy and can give you that milk desire, you know, but you can, you know, get with something better out of it ultimately. And these are ways to prevent the mucus from building. Deep red meats can build up mucus. There's kinds of bread and starches and sugars that build up mucus, and just these things that if you could find, you know, tamarind sugar, coconut sugar, you know, just switch up the form of it because we're so in the future now. You could find it in, you know, you just got to experiment and, you know, test out the different kinds of cheeses or something, you know, but there's ways to prevent it nonetheless. And let's say you do eat some things that, you know, has that can build mucus. There's 99 other things out there that can alkalize the body, you know, so you don't have to just flood yourself in one direction. Get it 80-20, you know. There's so many, you know, different things that you can do. So leading that to leading that to from the individual, the microcosm, to the macrocosm, I want to lead that to what has been a big ego trip on our whole world or our whole society as the people, um, that's done that and convicted us in that same way, but as a people. Uh, Basis of our more modernized religions, namely Christianity, as a superpower in this world. And by Christianity, I mean our current, most watered down version of it that we have today. Individuals that are claiming to be these things, but don't really, you know, follow all the rules that are in the book and aren't trying to live their life exemplary, trying to become this Yeshua individual. They really just, you know, claim that they are this and that's it. And, you know, do some of the traditional things, but they don't hold to it. And then there's versions of it where there's followers of the way where they don't hold to everything, but they hold to a more Christ consciousness or a more Buddha energy, you know, Krishna consciousness realm of individuals that could kind of peep the interwovenness of what it was really trying to say, take the pieces out of it that they need, and leave the rest. But the aspect that of the individuals that got the disease, these people are living in a bubble world of their own actions where they have causing disease to the paradigm. You know, I mean, if there was ever a time that individuals went and killed, straight up killed people just by word of where you do you worship, this God, and if you do not, saying you're done. That right there is characteristics of a false Merkaba. A Merkaba is something that's supposed to generate and base life based off of the balancing aspects of its geometrics. But a false Merkaba is something that will cause heinousing energy and heinousing death, heinousing bloodshed, and unnecessary, and things that could be avoided. This is some of the bases of in which how Christianity came to power. Having there's whole documentaries done where there's torture chambers that Christians had, the Crusades, the Spanish Inquisition. All these things did unfathomable changes to the world. And in that same means, I look at it like the ego took the pilot seat and tried to corrode the plane immediately when it was never supposed to be given so much power. And that is why, because I know you saw the Book of Eli, it was used for political means, to tap into the origins of it. There's Constantine, and the basis of the political individuals that was trying to use it as a tool to for Rome, for them to encompass bigger regions, and to do it with a more forceful over God, over bigger than God persona. They created this aspect that was different than the gods that we had just previously had 325 AD. We had different formalities of these things. And even when slavery started and the individuals was coming in trying to teach people about, God, or they're from a God, or let me save you to Jesus. And it's like some of these people, like a lot of these people, they weren't just living in huts. They weren't just living, like individuals had shoes on and had paper and had, their own theology of this thing that was just like it, but it was different. It's not like they were just these, low-minded Africans that were just looking at nothing, and they're coming to them with some far-off thing talking about, check this Jesus character. No, some of these people had their own Yeshua aspect that then they're being fed this thing that's like right around the corner from it. Can you imagine the mind trip that would be? And thus forcibly having to fight against it. You don't want to. You're a peaceful being. You don't want to go to war, but they're coming to kill you. They're coming to take away the very way that you know life. So then you have to go to war or be taken over, lose your name, lose your identity, lose. I'm saying English to you right now, you all, just to even communicate with you. I'm not talking my native tongue, you know, and this is some of the convictive properties that have happened from, our patriarchy that we're all living in right now. So that right there, as an aspect of illness on the whole planet, is very huge. And this implication bleeds into other religions too. There's other religions out there, the Muslim faith, that has a dozen things that's not right with it, and there's even in the Krishna consciousness. There's beauty in it, but it has its shortcomings as well. And I believe something very heavily that I believe a master teacher told me once long ago, or the universe gave me it intuitively. But the belief systems, when it comes to all religions, belief systems are all wacky. We all can come to some degree of this where we have heard or seen something in a book that was just like, I don't know about that, but it's philosophy. Philosophically, it was like, whew, I could take that, can learn a lot from that. Philosophically, we can grab all things from all sorts of religions and try to piece out the common denominators that are in all of them and grab, what we can. And hey, no, Halo's not back yet. No, but he will be back on that next episode. The next episode, he'll probably be back at the end of this actually. So yeah, but now, um, uh, the common denominator that exists in all religions is love. Love is the common basis that if we look deep into them, we'll find that each of them say love is the key, and we should do unto others how we would like done unto ourselves. And with that, we are able to really, really highlight what we're supposed to be doing here, and how we have separated ourselves through the illusion that we all are separate or we all are different, when really we need to be loving the difference of each other. I need to be proud of what I am, very proud of what I am, but still love and see you and see myself in you and allow me to grow, for the resistance, the resistance to diversity is the cause of war. The resistance to the diversity and not wanting to be changed is the cause of war. And that is basically the apex of how all illness is war in the body, in the micro, war in the macro, So ultimately, whether it be with your own individual self and allowing that soul to take place, or on the outside world, we can really allow soul to take place in the basis of love. We can really, um, allow that to, manifest. And then, how many of my Star Wars fans is out there? How many of y'all is loving the Mandalorian? You know what I'm saying? Is loving the new changes coming up? Is loving some of the newest, deepest stuff in the community, in the changes? Them about to be redoing the last three movies. You know what I'm saying? Big things is happening. I want to touch on that because the depth that is in Star Wars is very, very unprecedented, and it's also very, very what is the word? It's un it's underrated. Star Wars talks about like what is going on in the real world in many, many forms. That take place from, you know, um, the banking clan funding both sides of the war. You know, in the real world. The conglomerates that own the media and the Jewish community and the ones that own, everything in the aspect of, the 13 bloodlines and just the richest individuals and whatnot, paying for different sides of the war to spawn war, but to actually make money. Inside Star Wars, they got the bank, they got the Trade Federation, and they like run everything. They run Senator Amidala and all of them, but then they also run the robots and whatnot. And this all ties in ultimately to the awakening and to love. And this is why I want to bring this up, to lead it back from what we were just talking about, was the one. Who is the one? What does the one mean? What does it mean to be the one? And you see, the one is half the force itself. The one is, and I got to give a disclaimer. I'm coming at it from pre Disney Reload Star Wars facts, just like the whole continuity that was before. And hopefully they bring in certain aspects of it again. And I'm looking forward to that, but just as a precursor, I'm talking about original Lucas film, Mark Hamill, you know what I'm saying? Energy. But yeah, so love. What is the one about? The one is half the force. The force is the metachlorian or the mitochondrial, if you peep the anagram right there. But the metachlorian, and our communication with the ways of the very mainframe or the things that exist around us that we don't see. The energy that communicates when the a Jedi communicates with them and asks and tells them to do something is how something moves. They communicate with the metachlorians, and then the metachlorians adhere to the will of the Jedi. And it's a mighty path because while it adheres to what he wants, when it tells him something, he must adhere to it. And therefore, the yin and yang, is connected. They are one. But when it comes to the one's purpose was ultimately to bring balance to the force. And by bring balance to the force, we have to look at the force as being an overall energy that coincides beyond the concept of the Sith and the concept of the Jedi. the Sith only hold to a piece of what the Jedi hold to what the Force encompasses, and the Jedi only hold part of what it encompasses too. And by having either separate, it causes the disconnection, which is why once not afraid, Rey was able to just go into the dark side. What did she see down there? You know, she wasn't eaten by some humongous monster whatsoever because she didn't allow it to be that. All she saw was multi spans of mirrors of herself and realized she created the ripple. Just realize that she created the ripple for all the herselves that would come after her. So once that was unlocked and she understood that, she was able to just heal people just off of jump. And that's the power of when you have both the energies that we're supposed to be wielding. But it comes into a little bit of hypocrisy by way of the Jedi Temple that kind of became a little Catholic, if you know what I'm talking about. And honestly, defusing and denouncing certain aspects that are very important to how we live, emotions, you know, passions, you know, your own base individual things that are emotional and primal but allow you to be human. As a precursor, once ago, people that were Jedi's could all be you could have a family of Jedi, you could have father Jedi, mother Jedi, children Jedi. But the Jedi Temple, after sensing that they were under attack or something was happening, they were going to be challenged. They, in response to this, set out a rule that cut out all those that have families or love or are in relationships. You can no longer do that. And anyone who has a family that was all Jedi, all of them are now immediately gray Jedi by listing, by definition. You can be a gray Jedi by either having a family or by being a Jedi but not doing everything that the Jedi Temple wants you to do. Being a light wielder but not doing everything that the Jedi wants you to do. And then also by dancing and walking a path between the dark side and the light side. So, how does this? Why is this important? How does this tie in? Because the one who was a born apex of both these things was born to bring balance to them, but he was born in a corrupt Catholic system that only allowed him to ask to live in certain aspects of himself. So when push came to shove, individuals could manipulate dude, could manipulate him, and he was not prepared. He was not prepared for the path before. And I think if he was able to love outright, this would have changed the whole game. If he was just allowed to. For if I watch a lot of shows and I watch a lot of movies and I watch a lot of things, so I reference things to help people understand things. But in Dragon Ball Z, there's someone called the Legendary Super Saiyan. He's like, his name is Broly. He's like that dude. But in the original first movie, like Saiyans get mad very easily, but he's the legendary Super Saiyan. So like when he was a baby, Goku cried a lot by him, and when like he was so upset by Goku's crying, it disrupted him, and even just remembering his very first thing that pissed him off, like just sent him in a rage because he's the legendary Super Saiyan. Like he feels more than all the other Saiyans. He's angrier than all the other Saiyans. That's what it is. Think about that, but like the Force, like the one feels more than everybody, and can remember, can see the future and everything, but is given a weak ass reason to why he's not able to live, and he's told not to love all his life. Then goes and sees his mom in his visions dying, follows that just intuitively. They didn't get a message, just got it all, through the Akashic. Went there, found his mom. She died in his arms and lost it. Just lost it. Killed everybody around. Why? Because he had his fucking emotions locked up all his damn life. You know what I'm saying? It was like, and then weren't given the true need that we all need for the emotional help and the emotional foundation and basing that we need to understand, and how to control our ego, how to control that, like I have been able to do, or like many of you out there have been able to do. But you've been able to have those times to cry. Instead, your parent gonna tell you like, oh no, you're better than that. Emotions are wrong. You don't have emotions. No. Could you imagine that? this would have you off, in the real world. So in that aspect, I feel like he was given a disservice because they almost projected onto him what was going to be based off of his unawareness, being a child, just being brought into this. So again, why is this important? Love. Love, 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 love. In this world, are projected the same very way that he was projected onto us. Our parents project onto us what we were going to be. The school system projects onto us what we are going to be, how we're going to be. The very status quo in the society that we live in. It tells us how we're going to be, how we need to feel. We don't pat ourselves on the back enough. We don't look at all the accomplishments that you're doing right now that your father could not do, that you're doing right now, and all the records you're breaking right now because of the same very thing that I'm consequently feeling like was happened to the one. It's a story that is interactive introspection about your own individual self as the one, you know, but you being crucified by the ways of the world and having the shortcomings and not being able to actually, and then you becoming Darth Vader and not following your path to what you should have been in the magnanimousness that you could have been. Instead, you know, that boy becomes, he's advanced, he's surpassed his family and his parents at 11, and he's not being challenged, and he goes and he goes to school, and he's great at critical thinking, but he's not good at taking tests. He's just not good at taking tests. So there's individuals that go to school that are great at taking tests. They can cram or they can cheat really well, and at the end they end up with an A or a B. But this person who went to try to do it has more potential than everyone, but just isn't good at taking tests, fails the test, didn't even try to cheat, but tried to do his best, failed the test, gets a D, has a inferiority complex because he didn't pass and didn't pass all the tests when the other one did. So there's a hypocrisy in the grading system in general, that the person who gets this letter versus the other person who gets this letter is just better than the other person is complete horseshit, because some people are just good at taking tests. Some people are good at doing that short critical thinking that other people aren't able to do, and this shouldn't be way of what a person is able to walk away with and how they feel about their own damn self. you know Honestly, it's like there's individuals that are cold at basketball, right? They'll run up, cross somebody up in pure movement, understand the trajectory and the movement and the timing, and they are it. They are the math. They jump up, boom, post up at perfect distance, and know the exact circumference of angle that they're supposed to hit the thing in and can hit it. They can just be the math, but they can't do math because of the generic way that they were told that they need to regurgitate the information. So then thus they're like walking away thinking they don't know math when they are math. you know this stuff gets me hot, to say the least. And I feel like this is a perfect example of being devalued or being projected on when we had greatness within us, but we weren't able to actually apply it or tap into it. um, so in that very way, you know, they'll be the classic, average kid or boy who has too much energy that, cannot learn in the one way that everybody's being told to learn, and, skips class or gets in trouble a lot or rejects the school system or walks away in handcuffs in elementary school, and it's like you're projecting on this individual to become something when they get older. That's what's going on. And if I do remember correctly, I remember Yoda saying that he feared much by looking at young Anakin when he was just a kid at 6 years old in a room full of aliens. The boy, a slave, he just left off of somehow. He doesn't even know where he's at with these magicians. He like, what niggas is moving stuff? I don't even know. And then ends up, of course he afraid a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Love him. Give the boy a hug. He's not gonna see his mom no more. You damn right he afraid. You feel me? Goodness. And that's just what happens. Is so many of us out here that had greatness, that were destined to be something amazing out here, and nobody believed in us like that, or it gave us what we needed emotionally, you know. So you know, they started trapping, they started pimping, they started hurting people, they became a wife beater, they abused this, or they became a drunk. You know, how many family members, how many nieces and nephews do you have? How many children do y'all have out here that you're like, damn, I'm not seeing the right thing in them? You know, I'm not seeing that. And how can I communicate to them that I care? You know, that's what we need to really be thinking right now to try to save them, you know? And yeah, that ultimately is one of the basic ways in which how individually we are all affected by the humongous status quo of our system, of our grading system, our school system, of our judicial system, and just, you know, the implications of the current state of the world that we're in, where now individuals can just run up in the White House, just run up in the White House. You know, where are the Secret Service at? Where are these people at? You know, why is this okay, but there's individuals that are getting stopped at a stoplight, and because they decided to give a little energy of frustration at them being pulled over for no reason, that they end up handcuffed, face down, kneed on, and shot at, you know, when they didn't even have a weapon. And I'm being extra with that. There's individuals that did less than that, just were like, hey, you know, didn't roll the window down and were told to get the fuck out their car. But then there's individuals that are completely fucking fuzzled on what is up or down. And they're running up into the White House, got their feet up on the stuff, and are completely allowed as citizens. Not one of them tased. It's just mind blowing. This is the current state of the world. And yeah, you know, it builds inferiority complexes in individuals. It makes people not being able to trust, you know, or not being able to understand how to make it through in this way of the world. Do you know how many people out there get you know, anxiety or whole blood rushes to their head when police sirens come off by them or the lights come on? They're just like, they have PTSD based off of the things that they've seen. But yet, what we're seeing publicly right now by the way of the world is, you know, just very tipsy turvy on what should be or what should not be. You know, it's just insane out here. So I'd like to take that into account. You know, I'm like, that is one of the most disservices to all the people who have fought, um, you know, not only for this country, but fought, and by for this country, I mean as, you know, conscious individuals, you know, outside of the banking clan and outside of, you know, the American government. I mean individuals that work every day to make this place a better place and are peaceful and are genuinely nice to their fellow individual. They do unto others how they are done, and they try to help the next person. Those individuals. It does a disservice to all of us, you know, that we aren't getting the justice that we deserve when we are righteous and do our best to be good. And then there's individuals that live horrible. You know, we know that they wouldn't give a fuck about the next man, and yet they are just able to do whatever they want. What message is really being sent out there? You know. So if you could take the time today to just love yourself, not allow false pride, like, you know, some of the people are, you know what I'm saying, in the deep trenches of the Trump state. Just false pride of, you know, individuals that will shit their energy out on you, you know, when they care about you in the truth. False pride when it comes to, you know, being bad to yourself and kicking down your inner child, you know. We need to really switch our whole prerogative up, you know, and start with ourselves. You need to go in, have a moment, and take time to love and communicate with your inner child, and take off any disease that's on them and disharmony that's on them, you know. Anytime that you let somebody tell you that you're not good enough, or anytime that you let yourself tell yourself that you're not good enough. You put yourself down. You call yourself ugly. You say that you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You can't do it. You walk into where your inner child is. You go in there and you slap him in the mouth, hella hard, in the face. Bow. And as graphic as that is, I guarantee you cannot remember or think about going up to some little 4-year-old and just slapping them. You couldn't think of that. So why do you do that to yourself? You know, before it even comes to you doing it to someone else, why do you do that to you? You know, you need to take the time and really care about them, give them that love. And once you give yourself that love, you won't need to get that love from nobody else. You know, you won't need to seek that love from no one else because you gave it to you. And that right there is the answer. You know, as soon as you heal that and you can give, you know, grace, time to just, you know, breathe and be in that love and just marinate in that love. See who you are. What do you want to do? What do you like? From that way of the view of the love, then you'll be able to really see what this world is and what you'd like to do. But until you do that, you're walking around decapitated, you know? You're walking around with disease, you know, and it's just a matter of time before it manifests into a physical fruition. And this is what you really need to think about. So, yes, yes. I want to, I wonder how quick this world will change based off of what we've seen today and how much evolution can become based off of what this world is leading to. And in this, I have something else to say too. In this, the world is splitting into two worlds. There's one world that's being led into a dark, and by dark I mean wicked, evil, heinous, disruptive, destructive place. And in that place, um, people are being chained to it, and they're the ones that they'll kind of spiral off arguments like the one I was just in when I was in Hollywood. It's just like, yo, you just shit your energy out of me. I was like, where did this come from? You know, um, that type of energy is going to a certain world, is going to a certain paradigm, and all those that will be confined to it will be confined to it. But then while that's going on, there's individuals that will not be seeing that in their timeline. They will be experiencing conscious shifts. They will be witnessing, you know, the changing of policies. They'll be witnessing the changing of overall government and power. They'll be seeing the changes of the things that is on TV or the things that are being promoted or the ways of, consciousness and sage and chakras and the things that are in our healing worlds will be expanding in this whole paradigm and just be a normality that everyone knows. That is what they will see on that world. But everyone who couldn't rock with them or rock with that energy will just disappear. Whether they moved, whether they died, whether they got a new job, whatever the illusionary characteristic is that in which they had to leave, they will leave from the world of individuals that are on that other tip. So heed the warning, heed the message, Which wolf will you feed? You know? Find your way to that love and try to love as much as possible. Um, find a way to that other world, because that other one exists at the same time in another phase space. That will go on at the same time, and you don't want to be there. You do not want to be there when that pops off. And if there was anything that I could say right now for the change and the mighty um, ascension that is 2021 in the awakening in the age of Aquarius, is that make sure that you pivot yourself to the paradigm that's shifting up to the fifth and the sixth. Don't allow yourself to shift down. Don't descend, especially if you got individuals around you that love and care about you. Come on now, you know what I'm saying? Your higher self does not want that to happen to you. I'm all light and stuff. So yes, I'm like, I'd like to bring it there. I'd like to establish the space and really acknowledge the depth that what is being said here right now and what ultimately we could become, because I believe in you, I believe in all of us, I believe that we can do it. Love is definitely that key. Love is strong enough to make it all happen too. It's the door. The doorway is compassion, but love is the key to all the doors within yourself. If you allow that to manifest, all the illnesses will be cleansed. You know, all the things that is the base cross section for disease to be built won't have a foundation to stand on. So take your time. Breathe, give that love, give that light. You know, um, then we can talk about the nature of cymatics, the nature of frequency, the nature of vibration. What vibration comes off with that energy of love? What vibration comes off with the energy of hatred and frustration? Um, in the early 30s or 40s, they changed the music note from America. That was the basic music note that we were using was 432. You know, very very primed, strong creational vibration right there that we have used for eons, and then they go change it to 440, And what is 440? What is 440 frequency hertz? 440 frequency hertz is frequency of hysteria, of disruption. If you play 440 frequency hertz on a cup of water, it will mold over time, you know? And that is the frequency hertz that we base all music to. When you turn on any song, any Lil Wayne song, you know, any YG song, any song, any Taylor Swift song, you know what I'm saying? Any of them, it's tuned to 440 frequency hertz. You remember the old Mexican moms used to say, "Don't turn on the radio; it has the devil in it. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. It has the devil in it." It's really the devil energy, the harnessing energy of that vibration isn't in it. And if it's not in it, some people literally, I'm good. I'm good. I don't really want to hear this. It's because they're listening for that vibration. And if it's in there, they're all ears, But that right there is the knowledge and the science of cymatics, the vibration that gives off physical change in our world. The very way a thing is shaped is that. The very way a thing is shaped is actually giving off a sound vibration. So even like this mandala behind me, this right here is literally giving off a sound. It's a three-dimensional representation. It's a two-dimensional representation of actual vibration and frequency wave. You see? So ultimately, the frequency wave itself in the flower of life is a sound. The frequency wave when you look at an ankh is a sound. The frequency wave when you look at the way anything is shaped, it is actually giving off a sound. So there's individuals that could start, um, let's say that you started eating better because of some type of artist that you love. A lot of people went out there went vegan because Beyonce went vegan. And it's like just because they went vegan, regardless, it's still just because they went vegan because of Beyonce doesn't mean that their colon won't be cleansed based off of them hydrating themselves more. You see, so for all those that started, they jump into the conscious community, rocking ankhs or rocking shawls, or started wearing mandalas and um, better shoes and harem pants and all this stuff. You starting to like rock a ankh is giving off the vibration regardless if you started doing that just because it was the trend now. It's still going to be giving off the vibration. And that's one of the most beautiful things from switching up that vibe and the concrete energy that love gives, that life energy gives. It's the most, love is like, man, love is the highest degree of understanding between all wisdom and knowledge. So, love, love, love. That love energy, man. It's like the vibration of death is really just a doorway. it's really just an illusion. It's really a shedding of skin. But then there's violence. Violence, which is a lesser form of that death. What do you do? It's really null and void, because if death isn't, then violence is just slowly moving to life. If death is really just life, you could sprint to life. But if you are slowly moving to life, that would be hurting. That would be violence. That would be, I think I said this kind of confusing, but basically, if death isn't, violence is a lesser form of death, then violence itself is slowly crawling to that which death really is. And death is really life. So why slowly crawl there when you could sprint to it, you know? You could hurt someone or you could love someone. It's easy to destroy. Very easy to destroy. You know what I'm saying? But can you build yourself up? And that's right there is one of the deepest messages I think I could give right now for this 2021, evolutionary change that we're in. Don't be in the revolution. We're not trying to do another revolving circle. We're trying to evolve. We're trying to grow. We're trying to evolve and not do another 360. Let's break off the chain and find a new way. So I'd like to leave all with that. And invite the king, invite the netter, you know what I'm saying? The pharaoh over here. Yes. I'd like to say namaste and give a shout out to all the shaman brethren out there. This has been Alchemy 101. Saving y'all with what was it?
Sensei Sebi, baby.
Sensei Sebi, you know what I'm saying? Saving y'all with Sensei Sebi. Out.
Beautiful. Love it.